I heard about this story because recently some articles came out for an update in this case, and when I looked into it, I could not believe the whole thing. Like, it's just crazy. But it hits home a little bit. So this is the story of Heather Mack, the Chicago socialite who murdered her mother.
Okay.
So this story begins back when she was born, April 15th, 1995. She was a young, happy, vibrant child who just seemed to have it all. Her father was James L. Mack, a jazz composer, like a very prominent one who did classical music. He was a teacher. Her mom was Sheila Van Wise Mack, and she was in politics somehow. She wasn't a politician, but she was involved in something to do with that. But she had a wonderful life. Like, her parents took her traveling around the world on extravagant vacations. Her father was worth millions. They had an appreciation for the arts. But at 6 years old, she started showing like some kind of wild behavior. Like, she started having some, like just behavioral issues, which, is typical at 6 years old, honestly. It didn't seem like anything that noteworthy. But so Heather's father had an ex-wife, and he had kids by that ex-wife.
Okay.
And apparently, her mother was accused of like shutting off the lights and pretending to not be home when those kids tried to come visit their father. And he also didn't take care of them the same way he took care of Heather. He didn't take them on vacations. They didn't get this extraordinary life that she got. Well, Heather and her father were super, super close. She says she was way closer with her father than she was with her mother until she was about 10 years old, and he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Okay. That's awful.
Yes, but it gets worse. They go on vacation to Athens, Greece, and he suddenly dies of a pulmonary embolism. This is in 2006. He was 77 years old. Well, it was a huge blow for Heather as a little girl, but her mother, Sheila, apparently just left his body in the morgue and continued on their vacation. There isn't much said about their marital relationship, if there were much problems, other than the ex-wife.
That's not a good enough example for me, because like one of our greatest attributes is us humans being able to ignore our issues, just to put it plainly, simply. When something's going on and you have some extreme anxiety or trauma, we are very good about just ignoring that.
Yeah.
And especially with a kid, I would assume she's thinking of it like, I'm going to keep doing this for her, is my guess.
Yeah, and the money. I mean, she has a pretty good life, money-wise. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Like, that's a bit weird that she just didn't seem to care, which more on that later. But in his will, he left all of his money to a sole beneficiary, and that was his daughter Heather. Not the mom, not the other kids.
Wow.
They got nothing. All to Heather. Well, I want to mention, I'm not going to go into like the details of the details of the details, because we are a variety show. It's not just a true crime podcast, and we like to focus on the social aspects and commentary based off of the story. So we tell the story, give a rundown, and then give like our takes on it and how it affects society and all of us.
Yeah.
So her mother had some kind of court case where she got it all. She basically took it from her own daughter. Yeah. So after this, their relationship just slowly declined and got worse and worse and worse. And I mean, by 14, it was constant violence, like nonstop violence, crazy shit, like stealing, hitting her mom, biting her mom. There's one account of her hitting her mom in a broken ankle, like her mom broke her ankle and she hit her in the ankle. Yeah, biting her, breaking stuff in the
Was
house.
her mom like doing it back?
Well, it didn't seem like it, but later on we'll talk about that a little bit more. So,
Okay.
she would also threaten to hurt her mom and run away when things would get bad. Over 3 years, the cops were called to their house 80 times. At least 80 times.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it escalates to more extreme violence and threats and theft and running away more and for longer periods of time.
First name basis with the po-po.
Oh, yeah. And at one point, Heather says something like, well, next time I'll just hit her where it can't leave bruises. I'll just hit her in the head. Stuff like that to the cops. Like, crazy. So it's clear Heather has an extreme anger problem, and also a huge sense of entitlement, because she would steal her mom's credit cards. Like, she stole all kinds of stuff.
It was kind of hers, but that's...
Yeah.
Gosh.
So in between these bouts of like intense fighting and violence, they would have like good periods where her mom would take her on extravagant vacations. And they'd be okay because like they're going shopping and they're going on these cool vacations, and then they come home and fight like hell. And every time her mom would save her from the consequences. She would drop charges. She would pull her out of a mental asylum. Sounds like a codependent mother to me, if I ever heard one.
Or guilty.
Yeah.
One or the other, or both.
Exactly. So, in her teenage years, which I believe this is around like I think it might be like 16, 17, something like that. I think it's 16. She meets Tommy Schaefer. He becomes her boyfriend. He's about 3 years older than her, and he's a wannabe rapper who dropped out of college to pursue his rapping career. He would lie to friends and girlfriends to get sympathy and keep them in his life, like saying he had a heart condition and he was going to die soon.
Oh.
His father left when he was young, so him and his mom had a lot of money issues. And Heather's mom hated him. Did not feel like he was good enough for her daughter. At one point, the couple ran off with the mom's card and went on a huge shopping spree. And there was a whole fight about that. Well, Heather ends up getting pregnant, of course, and drops out of school and fights with her mom about it, apparently, moves out into a hotel with him. And there's a lot of issues, okay?
Sure.
Obviously.
Sounds like it.
Here we go. This is where it really gets interesting. The mother plans a trip to Bali.
Okay.
For her and her daughter. She wants to have a mother-daughter trip. They haven't been doing well. You know, in my mind, I see this as a codependent parent's way to, like, get them back. Like, she moved out, she's pregnant, like, she's with this guy, get her back, reel her back in with the extravagant money and vacations. That's how I see it. Like, right off the bat, that's what I see. Because I have experience in codependent relationships, okay?
Who doesn't?
Right. So they plan this extravagant trip to Bali, like on this amazing resort. Well, this whole time, Tommy and Heather are planning to kill her mother.
Choo. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Heather buys Tommy a $12,000 plane ticket to Bali on her mom's credit card without her knowing. They're there in the resort now, okay? Fast forward, they're there in the resort. He's hiding in the bathroom. And she is texting him while sitting out there with her mom. And they're talking about this. So I'll put up some pictures of the text, and shout out to this content creator right here. Put her name up. She does really great stuff on this, but I got the text from her because I couldn't find them anywhere else. There's no better time to say hi, is there? Go with your gut, baby. I'll be outside. If you need me, I'll hear it. I promise you, Heather, all you have to do, G, is get her weak. G, no, listen, I'll be standing by the door, coming now. Relax. You're Bonnie. Do it. Bonnie and Clyde reference. Like, they're talking themselves into it right now. He says, I can't wait to be rich. It's crazy AF. Like, money, nothing rules the world. Keep your head up. Trip's going to be as planned, baby. Faith. I also know what is in my control. I know what makes people tick. The witch, referring to her mother. I know what makes her tick. I'm with her so much. I know her habits, how she acts, what she does at certain times. It's like breaking out of jail. It takes several years of watching. I've been watching her routine, and I know what I do control. I'm sneaky, I'm smart, and I watch. Trust Bonnie. Don't make everybody else's mistake and underestimate me. He said, I like the confidence, G. Like, this is so cringy.
It is.
It's mega cringy. Once you think like you're a mastermind, you start understanding that you can control a lot more than you thought. Okay, slow, but don't keep the door open for too long. Too much light comes in. Text when you're in. Slow, G. If I talk at all, just come in. Here I come. Good job. Stay over there. She's facing the other way. She's so awake. So I think the plan was to somehow drug her.
Okay.
Or knock her out. Like, she was supposed to do... I think she was supposed to do something. Heather was supposed to do something to incapacitate her somehow. But she didn't. Okay. And now he's like, fuck, she's so awake. Like, I can't just walk up to her and do this. And then she says, can't we suffocate her together? What? Phone's on 1%. Just let me creep up and whack her. Once I do it, she was drunk and slipped and fell. His phone's at 1% while they're planning a murder.
Oh my gosh, this is so crazy.
It is. So what ends up happening, okay, is somebody bludgeons her to death with a fruit bowl, like a tall fruit bowl on a stand. Yeah. So, and he was saying, like, get her weak. I'll be standing by the door. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like there was some kind of plan there that didn't totally work out. The authorities in Bali said that she was bludgeoned to death with a fruit bowl. Pretty badly. She suffocated on her own blood. Like, something broke and she couldn't breathe. And, yeah, it was horrific. There's many accounts of what actually happened. Tommy and Heather have both given several different versions of what happened. Like, they had just told her that she was pregnant and her mom was a racist and called him the N-word, and they were fighting, and that she was attacking Heather, and like it was self-defense. And Heather even said, her mom said something about, if you have a baby with him, you're already dark enough, the baby's gonna be super dark. Like, there's all kinds of stuff. Then there's her taking full accountability in a video, which is crazy, might I add. I'll link the video, or we can watch it on stream, because I honestly want you to watch it and tell me what you see, like, in her body language, in her eyes, because her eyes do seem like kind of oddly dead. You know, like, it's kind of weird, and it's kind of eerie hearing her talk about it. But so they take her body and stuff it in a suitcase. Okay. And they get a taxi. They go out of the hotel. They get a taxi. And they just abandon the suitcase in the trunk of the taxi. Like, leave without paying. And the taxi driver's like sitting there like, when are they coming back, you know? And then he's like, well, I guess they're never coming back. They left their suitcase. He goes to get it out and he's like, oh my God, it's bloody. There's blood leaking out everywhere. Calls the cops. The cops come get it, open it. It's Sheila, the mom. And they were arrested the next day in a cheap hotel. and wouldn't talk, and she said she was pregnant with an ectopic pregnancy. Wasn't true. She was just pregnant. And they claimed they were taken hostage by a gang and told to do all of this. But eventually Tommy comes out with the story of self-defense because of the pregnancy, and that the mom said she was going to cut it out of Heather's body. So he had to defend them.
Okay.
And Heather claims she hid in the bathroom while he did it. And then she helped him hide the body because she was afraid of getting in trouble. So while waiting for trial, she gives birth to her baby Stella in Indonesia in the prison system and gets to keep her for 2 years.
No way.
And mind you, this is in Hotel K. Okay, that's what the prison is nicknamed. It's called the Dark Heart of Bali. There's books written on this place. It's considered the worst prison ever, where prisoners are sleeping on dirt floors. Like, it is considered horrible. Like, awful. And she's got this baby in there raising her for 2 years in this place. But when you look at the videos of this woman living in this prison, it looks like a paradise. Like, she's literally wearing makeup. She's partying. She's having birthday parties for her daughter. She's a choreographer and coordinating dance performances. Like,
what?
It's so weird. And I'll put up a few pictures of her.
Oh my gosh.
At this time, she starts dating some woman. And it's really strange. She even has access to social media and the internet constantly. She's posting videos of herself in the place, talking on social media. Like, it's like she's not even in prison. It's really weird. But then you hear other accounts of this prison, and it's, like, horrific. But I guess she did have to, like, sleep on dirt floors. So she gets sentenced to 10 years, and Tommy got sentenced to 18 years.
Ugh.
Yeah. And so she ended up serving 7 years and then got deported in 2021 to the U.S. and got immediately arrested by the feds and charged with conspiracy to murder a U.S. citizen. And there was supposed to be a trial coming up for this, but she ended up getting a plea deal and decided to plead guilty for the plea deal.
Okay.
And there's not been a sentencing yet, so we don't know how many years she's getting. Tommy is still in prison in Indonesia, and the daughter is now...
She shouldn't have came back here.
Yeah, no kidding. She wanted to, but she got deported. She was going to stay in Indonesia and have her daughter and, like, live there.
Got it.
But they deported her. And her daughter is now in custody with a cousin in Colorado. Thankfully, she's, like, within the family, you know. Somebody's taking care of her. As long as that family member's healthy, I hope. Because, I mean, this family didn't sound that healthy.
Yeah.
But...
Crazy.
Yeah, so anyway, getting into, like... some of the after things. Like, Heather has done interviews saying, like, okay, the video from prison she posted, she came out and she made this confession in this video saying, it was all me, and it's because my mom murdered my dad in Athens, Greece when I was 10. And I've, you know, hated her. He said, well, no. She said she found out 2 weeks before the trip to Bali. And she made it up in her heart and her mind then that she was going to kill her mom. She said she doesn't regret killing her mom. If somebody hurt her daughter Stella, she wouldn't regret killing that person. She said, but she regrets dragging Tommy into it. And somehow his cousin is actually doing time for being involved in this somehow. And she said he's completely innocent and had nothing to do with any of it. She said, I planned it all. I sent fake text messages back and forth between me and Tommy. He didn't do that. And I did all of it. I just made him help me clean up the body. Well, her lawyer then comes out and says, none of that's true. Tommy coerced her into saying that.
Dude,
yeah.
What?
There's so many changes of story here. I know. Well, he thought he was going to get 11 mil out of this, when really her mom was only worth 1.5. And he
Okay.
thought, like, we're going to be rich. You know what I mean? So I think he did have something to do with it, to be honest. She even offered him, like, 50 grand to kill her mom, and he said no. So, like, I feel like he knew, like, unless he was a total idiot and, like,
Yeah.
totally fooled by her manipulation, because clearly she was very manipulative. But there was a interview from her prison cell where she said that she didn't kill her mother, but admits their life together was super troubled after the death of her father. There was a lot of good. I don't know if I would describe us as friends, but they were close. She apparently had to sleep in her mom's room. She wasn't allowed to sleep in her own room. And if she tried to, she couldn't take it and she wouldn't sleep, her mom. So she slept with her. She didn't want to get help for, apparently, she alleges her mom was an alcoholic and a drug user and didn't want to get help and didn't want her daughter to get help. And that her mom was abusive towards her, put cigarettes out on her, pulled her by the hair, like abused her in many ways. And that they bonded over shoplifting. They would steal expensive French cosmetics and wouldn't pay for it, even though they had tons of cash and could. And they'd take thousands and thousands of dollars worth of makeup. Heather says she'd tell me nobody would expect a kid to do that and have them steal while she distracts the clerk. And she said she wanted to make her happy, so she would do it.
God, this is so twisted.
It is super
Like,
twisted.
So bad.
Apparently,
oh my gosh.
her mother would even provoke her, saying, hit me, until Heather would do it. When I try and tell her to give Heather space, and this is coming from a family friend, to give Heather space during their argument, she'd say, but what if she leaves? What if she doesn't come back? Sheila says the source not only feared her daughter, but was also terrified Heather would abandon her. So she had to keep her close and controlled in any way she could.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What a wild story. Oh my gosh.
Apparently she tried to move out multiple times, and her mom would send videos of her trying to delete herself to get her to come back. So there's a lot of speculation here. A ton of this has not been confirmed, like the alcoholism and all that and drug addiction hasn't been confirmed by anybody else. Now, the codependency, like abusive relationship, there have been some people like that have said, yeah, like that's true. And Heather's alleged a lot of that. But it makes sense to me. I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe she felt trapped by her mother in this awful codependent relationship. I don't know that I believe that her mother killed her father, considering he had stage 4 cancer.
Yeah.
And he was kind of her meal ticket, and there's no other evidence of them having like an issue.
Sure.
You know, their life seemed really good up until that point, and that's when it took the turn.
Sure.
So maybe that was her mom's way of dealing with it, is the vacations, escaping reality.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It could be, but like there's so much information of sickness in this that it makes it really hard. I feel like it's one of those things where like you have a bucket of bad things and you're just sticking your hand in it and you have no idea which one's going to stick you, but one of them's going to stick you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And there is no good outcome in this, and there is no way out of it. And I wouldn't expect anything less than what happened.
I just, when you have a parent that's suffocating you and trapping you in that way and making it so that you can't have your own life at all, and I mean, I have heard some pretty awful things coming from codependent parents before. I have experience with it, and even people who weren't like, I don't know, the whole racist thing, all of it sounds plausible to me. Now, I don't think
Yeah.
she's a racist because she had a black husband and a black daughter, but that doesn't mean she wouldn't say some off-the-wall crazy shit to try to manipulate her daughter to get her way.
Yeah.
A sick mind is a sick mind, and especially a codependent, like, addict type mind.
A codependent who believes that they aren't racist because they married a black person, so they feel like they can use race to control them. Like, it's a justified use of this
it's
because
manipulation.
I know I'm not racist. Yeah. I've seen that before.
I've seen that it before. Too.
So, I totally think that's all possible. And again, I just go back to, it sounds like she had a really hard life growing up. And this is one of those situations where everything that happened makes sense to me. I get it. Like 1 + 1 = 2. You raised a sociopath, whether she was inherently a sociopath or she was created to be a sociopath because of your parenting.
Yeah, I feel like she was traumatized. Like, imagine your parents sending you videos of them trying to hurt themselves because you're not there. Yeah. And you have to sleep with them. You're not allowed, like, you're a teenage girl, you have a boyfriend, like, you're probably you're having sex, you're pregnant, and you're, like, having to sleep in your mom's bed every night so she can sleep and not have nightmares.
Yeah, it's wild.
Like, you're the parent in that situation, and I think any child would grow to severely resent that parent. And maybe they wouldn't go to the point of murder, but it sounds like I believe that her mom was
her only way out.
It sounds like it was her only way out.
Just to be clear, and obviously I'm not
and mentally, that's a mental trap.
Yeah,
that's a mental trap.
It is a mental trap, but
her mom took all her money.
It sounds like she was physically trapped too. I mean, that is literal suffocation when you're being forced to sleep with your mom, which she's at the age that clearly she had a boyfriend, clearly she got pregnant. I mean, that's the age you start having bonding with other people your own age. You know what I mean?
Physically,
and yeah, whether it's cuddling or hugging or sleeping next to someone, whatever, like those are the experiences she should have been having, but she was stuck catering to and managing her mom.
Yeah. And even though this Hotel K prison was like horrific, she actually said it was the best prison in the world because she said it focused on rehabilitation and that she is a better person because of it, and that like the prison system actually said she was like a model prisoner, that she coordinated the dances, she had multiple jobs, and that she never hurt anybody.
That kind of control.
She said it's the happiest she's ever been was in that prison, and I felt like that really spoke to what her life was before, because before she actually was in a prison with her mother.
She was, yep.
And now she has freedom away from her mother even though she's in a prison.
Yeah.
Like a literal one. She can have her own life.
Weird how that works.
So I feel like that, looking at the psychology of that, made it make sense to me, because I heard a lot of people speculating, you can't believe anything she says, this and that. And while I don't believe everything she says, I feel like I can look at the experience I have in life with codependent sickness and, you know, all of that, and see a pattern.
Yeah.
And I feel like that pattern rings true.
Yeah.
If you kind of blur away the details and the things that don't really matter that much, he said, she said shit, what happened makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important, if you have a codependent parent, especially if they have money and they hold it over your head, to get out of it. Stop caring about the money.
Yeah.
The money doesn't matter. You can make money.
Yep.
Money comes and goes.
It's just a hard thing to get out of because money is so important in anybody's life, and you can't live without money. I mean, you can. You just would. It's a much, much, much harder life to depend on only social systems where you're making the minimum of the minimum of the minimum with, like, food stamps, Social Security, stuff like that. So we're trained to put a huge emphasis on the dollar and what money is. And then in a situation like that, it's held over your head in a way where you put even more emphasis on it because you know what life is like having a ton of money. So when you don't have it, it feels that much worse.
Agreed.
When money doesn't mean nothing.
Right, and she couldn't have understood that. She came from money. But think about how much her life would have been better if she had stopped caring about the money. Like, say she got advice from somebody, and they're like, stop caring about the money, leave immediately, go have your baby, and take care of it. Do not kill your mom. Because this and this and this will happen. Then she'd be with her daughter. Like, she could have figured something out. Even if she's not going to live to the amount of wealth that she did.
Yeah.
She could have figured something out.
Yep, she would have had her life.
She would have had a life of her own with her daughter with her.
Yep. And money doesn't give life experiences. So I feel like a lot of people get that mixed up, especially when you have like red pill manosphere people out there where they make it seem like you're only going to have a life if you have like an overabundance of money, and that's just not true. When you have more money, you have bigger bills, and you end up having the same type of life. In my experience, and I've made good money, you know.
Yeah. And with the care of her daughter and all that, like, I get she seems a bit crazy and stuff, but I don't agree with them arresting her and charging her with conspiracy of murder. I feel like that's a bit harsh, and I hope they don't give her a super long sentence. That's just, I get she's kind of crazy, but I don't know. I feel like
she served her time.
She served her time, and apparently the judge is going to take that into account in the sentencing. And there's a cap of, I think, like 28 years or something, but she could have served life. They could have went that extreme and made her serve a life sentence. But it sounds like the plea deal, they're not going to do that. There's a cap on it, and they're going to take time served into account. But she could be going back to prison for 15 more years or something like that.
Jeez, that's messed up.
I hope she got a really good deal like she says she did, because she claims she got a good deal. But I don't know. I just have a bit of compassion for her. Just because I know what it's like to have like overbearing people in your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she felt like there was no other way, I think.
Yeah. Wild. That's a crazy story.
And I know a lot of people are not going to feel the same as me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I see a child without a mother, and I see a child who is a mother, or was a child at the time, with a mother that didn't let her live her life.
For sure.
Just like the Munchausen by proxy case, that one girl who was forced to be in a wheelchair and sick all the time. It's not so different than that, man, that killed her mom. So, oh, well, that's my take on it. We want to know what you think about this case and anything else we talked about on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Always want those opinions.
Yeah, for sure. We want to have a conversation and a dialogue about it. I thought this was super crazy and interesting, and I knew you would be blown away by it too.
Yeah, it is crazy. Absolutely.